Welcome to TCI Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Yasmin Rigby Blues. And for this show, we have a very, very special guest, Mr. Titus DeBoer. Hello, Titus.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Well, I didn't want to give you a title because you wear so many caps. And I always remember that my introduction to the Turks and Caicos came through you with your show, and which just happened to have been on my birthday. I remember that, November 2nd, 1999.
That's right, you were turning 21, I recall.
Yeah.
19 and a half, yeah.
Yes. At that time, you were a talk show host.
I was a voluntary talk show host for something called Turks and Caicos Crossroads, which we did for 2-3 years. And yes, I remember our interview very well. It was delightful, to say the least.
I still have clips from it.
I think we should play that one day. Maybe on the 10th anniversary of said interview. Next year, 2009.
Oh, that's true, yes.
And the amazing thing will be that our viewers will then verify that we have not changed a bit.
Not aged one bit. And let's see, not long after that, I started hosting same program for a short time, 7 o'clock every morning.
That was really rough, yeah. They used to, for some reason, they thought it was a really good idea to let us do these interviews at 7 a.m. Now, I don't know how you are, but half my brain is certainly not awake at 7 a.m. and we occasionally needed to use matches to keep our eyes open. And it was live, if you recall.
Yes, it was.
So it was live at 7 a.m. and you couldn't make mistakes. You couldn't do a sort of retake. No, this was it.
This is it.
Screwed up, that was it, yeah. Oh well.
And if your guest didn't show up, you really were in for it.
Yeah, minor stress factor. You had to sort of pick some guy off the street and say, by the way, you're being interviewed. No warning. Which made for very amusing guests, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
No, those were the days. Pioneer television in Turks and Caicos.
Yeah. Long before WIV Channel 4 News.
Indeed, yes, very long.
I think WIV has come a mighty long way.
It has, yes. And the studio we did those interviews in was the size of, let's see, I'm trying to think of a room that we can relate to. Anyway, it's very small.
It was half the room that they interview in right now.
Yeah, it was tiny, and you'd fall over cables and...
Went around, 2 seats and that's
power outages were frequent, so you'd sit around in the dark.
Yes.
But I really think you should keep that tape, because one day we'll look at this stuff and we'll say, we're now fairly high-tech and sophisticated, and it'll be just a riot to watch this.
And during that time, you had an art gallery.
I was in the art business, yes, the Bamboo Gallery, which I founded in April of 1990. It dawned on me the other day that a lot of people that I know, for some reason, remember key dates in their life in Turks and Caicos. For example, I moved here on the 18th of December, 1989. I started my business on the 16th of April, 1990. So yes, when you and I were chatting aside from being a volunteer TV host, I would have also been still in the art business, something I really enjoyed for about 14 years or so.
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember when you moved into the marketplace and you had another grand opening, which was pretty good.
We used to do regular art shows because the traffic was different in those days. You needed to, whereas now I think in retail in general we have enough of a critical mass that people actually go to their stores and frequent the businesses of choice. Back then you had to throw a good party to get people to come to you, especially if you were not in the business of selling necessities. But no, it was a good time, and I very fondly look back to those days.
And are you still in that business?
I am in the sense that I am still a co-owner of the Bamboo Gallery, but I'm not involved in the day-to-day business. I help out a little bit on the correspondence with clients on the purchasing of the artwork, but the day-to-day operation is now no longer in my hands.
And another organization you were part of was the Chamber of Commerce.
I was, yeah. The Chamber of Commerce is an organization and is a subject of conversation that is very dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came here, the Providenciales Chamber of Commerce had just come into its own, having been until May of 1991 a chapter of the Grand Turk Chamber of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, a very active chapter. Some of the pioneers of the original chapter of the Grand Turk Chamber of Commerce, the likes of Tom Lightbourne, Ralph Wilkie, would tell me stories how the Providenciales Chamber of Commerce would have head-on confrontations with the then government over things we now totally take for granted, like establishing a business licensing ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually have businesses here and not have a business license. Today unthinkable, but back then that was a big deal.
Okay.
And so in early 91, the Providenciales Chamber, if you want, broke away, but probably a better word is just came into its own,
Mm-hmm.
became its own organization in its own right. And I remember the first meeting of that Provo Chamber in May of 91, and actually, probably rather cheeky, volunteered myself as vice president, and that was it. I think I'm still technically on the board, so I've been following the chamber development vividly.
Okay. What were some of the things that really interest? You mentioned one with the business license and all that, but what were some of the things that got the members involved?
Well, the chamber in Providenciales, unlike other jurisdictions where you look back to a much longer history, for example, where I come from, Hamburg, Germany, chamber membership is actually a requirement by law. You don't get a business license until you've joined the Chamber of Commerce. It's mandatory. And therefore, a Chamber of Commerce in a place like Hamburg is very, very powerful. Here in Providenciales, I think certainly in those early days, the Chamber was very much a grassroots organization. And certainly as I viewed it then, and to a degree still do today, was looking out very much for smaller businesses. Mm-hmm. In other words, your large entities, the PPC, Cable and Wireless, etc., have a way of fending for themselves. They have a legal team. And so to us, it was very important that smaller business owners had a forum where, number one, they could discuss issues that mattered to them, and number two, that once these issues were brought out in the forum to the chamber, that they had a vehicle with which they could then address the government of the day. One of the things that I kept stressing in those days, and do to this very day, is that a Chamber of Commerce ideally should very much stay out of politics. Mm-hmm. Politics in the sense of, really everything in Turks and Caicos to a degree can be perceived as being political, but I meant party politics.
Yes.
What were some of the things that got us, excited in those days? It was it was things, again, that today we more or less take for granted. There was an enormous uproar, certainly to start with the introduction of national insurance. Today, no one thinks anything of it. Because, again, it changed the way we do business. You know, if you think about it, back then, there was one thing you worried about, which was your business license. Suddenly, here comes government telling you, and now once a month you have added bureaucracy, you know, added to your life. When this bureaucracy becomes a routine, people are far more relaxed about it. We had the introduction of the Asakuda, the customs system, which was modernized significantly. And again, if I get my dates wrong, please forgive me, it's been a long time. I would say in the, again, early, mid-90s, there was once a proposed undeveloped land tax, or duty, which we successfully argued against. And then I guess the main event, certainly of my days in the Chamber of Commerce, was back in 2001 when the then government increased a host of fees across the board significantly. What was important then, and I think continues to be important today, is that we agreed back then to disagree, to say, you know, somewhere along the lines, the channels of communications broke down. We feel it's important that these channels are kept alive, and I think back then we certainly didn't score a victory, but revisions were made that I think in the end people were able to live with.
Okay, and over the years, has there been more cohesiveness between the chamber and the government, whereas before they decide to put in any legislation that it goes through the chamber?
I don't think we've ever reached an ideal situation where consultation with the chamber or any other institution for that matter, take the Hotel Association, the Hotel and Tourism Association, was ever in place. I can, to a degree, I can see the dilemma for any government in a destination, a jurisdiction as small as the Turks and Caicos, to just get on with their day-to-day decision-making process, and thereby, at times, not communicating successfully some of the things that ought to be communicated to the private sector. But again, all politics aside, I think when major changes of legislation are on the horizon that affect, let's say, the tourism industry or business in general, I certainly would find it wise to go out to the stakeholders and say, such and such is on the horizon, what is your feedback? Or for that matter, even to say, such and such is on the horizon, what time frame would be a good one within which we can implement these things? I'll give you an example back in 2001. I think if a government of the day had said to the private sector, we need to, because it's long overdue, make increases in, let's just pick one randomly, business work permit fees. But we are going to do it in such a manner that we are announcing it now, effective as of 6 months from now. Or we're phasing it in. I think the outrage would have been far less than it turned out to be. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to dialogue. It's you know, it's as old as civilization is. You know, that's what it comes down to. People have to get together and talk. End of story.
That's true. Communication is key.
Communication
and we'll
is key.
talk more when we come back from this break. Our services agents for G&G Shipping offer sailings into Provo twice a week. We ship all cargo from parcels and pallets to container loads, vehicles, and heaving equipment. Our custom brokerage department is always available to clear your shipment promptly. We own and operate a fleet of delivery vehicles and can easily accommodate same-day service. Our Services Limited, taking care of all your shipping needs door to door. For more information, call our office at 941-3267 or 941-5411.
Discount Liquors and Wine Centers, the Turks and Caicos' leading supplier of wine, spirits, and beer for more than 19 years. The island's largest selection of wine from around the world, also representing many of the world's premium spirit brands, as well as the island's #1 beer, Coors Light. So don't forget to come in or look online, e-news all summer long. Check out our exciting wine and beer specials.
Blue Notes News and Advertising Production Company is here in the Turks and Caicos to help you remember your precious moments. We produce weddings, funerals, birthdays, special moments, church events, you name it. Our track record speaks for itself on the quality. For more information, call us today at 649-331-6900 or email info@bluenotesinc.com.
The service is fantastic. I had a problem with a BlackBerry that I bought just recently, and they were happily to help me with it and swap it over, and I was pretty surprised that they helped me like that. It was great.
I don't know, he could have one company like Digicel no more, because Digicel in my country give the good service.
Of course it benefits me being a Digicel customer. I enjoy being a Digicel customer.
You too can be a winner with Digicel, the bigger, better network.
Welcome back to TCI Behind the Scenes, and we're here chatting with Mr. Titus DeBoer, who was recently made the counsel.
The consul.
Counsel for the German, what?
The Federal Republic of Germany. The German consul. Make it easy. Yeah.
Yes. So tell me about it. What does this role mean?
As far as the day-to-day job is concerned, de facto, very little